and welcome to the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. A couple of quick notes off the top, if you're just listening to the audio version. This is one of the Mund on the Move episodes. I am in the car right now, headed up north to my dentist appointment. Long story short, if you're new to the podcast, or even if you've been listening for a while here, had an injury when I was younger, busted my tooth, had to get the tooth replaced, had to get it pulled, and now I have a temporary flipper in, which is just one of those things you can take in and out of your mouth. That is currently not in my mouth right now, so if you're interested in watching the video version, this will be the first time that I'm, revealing to the public. That's what I look like with no fucking tooth in. It's right off to the side. I could put it in right now. The whole reason I'm going up north right now is to get it resized, hopefully. It's like too big in a certain spot and too small in another spot, and it's just wildly uncomfortable, and it's been almost a month now that I've had it. And it's a wild sensory experience. Anyways, all that to say, I am on the road back to my hometown. So if you're just listening to the audio version, I'm in the car, on the highway, so you're gonna hear some highway sounds, some traffic sounds, some blinker sounds, all that kind of stuff. But also, next week's episode will also be a Mund on the Move episode, because I'm going with my dear friend John Kelly. We are going to see Polyphia, System of a Down, and Avenged Sevenfold all in concert in Chicago. And him and I have a podcast planned where, I guess as a small teaser, we'll just be airing some of our grievances, expressing some of our pet peeves and whatnot. But we'll be doing that from the road in a similar fashion to this. Hopefully you can hear me decently well enough. Also, we're going to try to get existential on this one, shall we? There's a handful of things that I wanted to, throw at the wall. Maybe some of it'll stick, maybe some of it won't. But I do want to give this a shot. I just wanted to, cross some of those things off the list so you knew in advance kind of what was going on the next 2 weeks. Well, this week and next week will both be Mund on the Moves, where I am in the car, driving to a destination. Might not even have my tooth in for the next one. That's more just for the fun of it. You can hear that I'm talking a little bit differently. I'm really trying to hide the smile a bit, but that's it, dude. This is what I look like when I don't have that thing in. And it's really unfortunate, and we talked about this over the last few episodes, that it's kind of hard to believe that this is what I look like now. When I have the tooth in, for the most part, it's fine. I don't I don't know. It's really hard to explain without trying to also... I'm trying to not get emotional about it still to this day, because again, as I've said many times now, it's who you are, your smile, right? It's how people perceive you. It's how people, base their impression on you, is what you look like, unfortunately. You don't want to concede that that is the truth, but it is. And so now I'm changing the way that I talk so that my top lip goes down a little bit more, so you don't see immediately that I'm missing a tooth. Or when I have my fake tooth in, right now, because of the way that I smile, or because of the way that it fits, when I do smile, you can see that it doesn't quite fit around the gums, so you can see through my gums, and you can see my tongue behind the gap, and it's just uncomfortable and vulnerable and a little embarrassing, to be honest with you. But right now I'm just trying to be vulnerable, and I want to talk, so I don't know, I'm getting much better at talking with that thing in. But the hope is maybe at the end of this episode, after I do the dentist appointment, either they'll be able to refit it, or I can just pop back in to the podcast to put a little button on the end of it to let you know whether or not there's good news. Because it's very possible that I get out there and they're like, yeah, sorry, dude, that's just what flippers do. It's not meant to be a permanent solution. It can be... whatever, obviously this doesn't make sense, but temporarily permanent. It can be in for as long as I would like it to be, assuming that it doesn't break down and degrade or snap or break or whatever. But the hope is you get a bridge in, or you get a permanent denture in, or not a denture, but an implant. Anyways, it's not meant to be seen as a permanent solution, although it can be for as long as I want it to be. Anyways, all that to say, I am on the road up north, Celsius in hand. I got my mic mounted to a weird little tripod stand thing so I can hold it like a microphone. What did we want to talk about this week? There's a handful of things. Listen, I'm in a period of existentialism, and for a long while, for many years, for most of my life, it has been negative existentialism. Like, what am I going to do? I'm horrible. Everyone hates me. Life sucks. How will I ever be seen as good in this world? And while there's certainly a good portion of that remaining in the brain, I think maybe many of you have seen at this point a bit of a shift happen in my life where I'm trying to be not more self-aware, but use my self-awareness for good rather than evil. And I don't even mean like external evil. I don't mean being evil to others. I mean, this is all myself. This is internal, the struggle that I'm dealing with. Anyways, I think we're going to talk about God and manifestation in this episode. Because we got a little bit of time left. I think we got about 45 minutes to an hour left in this drive. And if for whatever reason we don't finish the episode before I get there, we'll go ahead and I'll finish it up on the way back. Because it's an hour and 45-minute drive. So, let's start at the beginning. The algorithm lately. YouTube's algorithm specifically, because they're pulling a lot of clips from podcasts here that apparently they have deemed that I want to hear. I am getting fed so much manifestation content, and I want to be very, talk about being self-aware, I want to be very clear here that I understand that while the algorithm is sort of like the uncomfortable intelligence of robots and social media to get you hooked for as long as possible, there is some agency here, right? Like, I am sitting and watching these videos. They're like, he must like these videos. Let's keep him around by giving him more. We talked about this on a previous episode, I believe even featuring Molly Teasma, called existential positivity. So existential positivity, manifestation, that kind of thing. They're feeding me all that type of stuff. And my algorithm has always been, aside from the insane amount of weird, uncomfortable brain rot memes that I get, existential in nature, spiritual in nature. There's always a dose of like, let's tap into this guy's psyche, because it's just kind of who I am. Obviously, I am very reflective. I turn to the woo from time to time, while also having a healthy dose of skepticism about the woo's power and existence in general. But anyways, my YouTube algorithm lately has been like, this guy wants to hear about manifestation. And I think it's very important to note that at this point in my journey, not only is this like new to me, new to me in the sense that, like, whatever, I hyperfixate on things. So like, when I first got into drums, it was like, that's all I care about. That is my entire identity. Then I was a Christian for a while, and that was my entire identity. Then I was a, not militant atheist, but I was a fervent atheist, and my entire life's goal was to prove to you that you're wrong about God. It was who I am and what I do. My identity gets wrapped up in these chunks of obsessions. So, all I am is a Blink-182 fan. All I am is a drummer. All I am is a photographer. And then there are weaves and waves that these things come in. So whatever, the current wave is this manifestation stuff. That's the first note. The second note is that although there are many people who believe in its abilities or in its existence. I don't think that I'm currently equipped to talk about like the wooest of woo of manifestation. Like, I close my eyes, and I used this example last night when talking to Emma about this. I close my eyes and I say, like, there is a cake in front of me. There is a cake in front of me. There is a cake in front of me. And then I open my eyes and there's a and then there's a cake. It's not how it works. Unless you believe that's how it works, in which case I'm open to hearing that I might be able to make a cake appear in front of me just by declaring that it is so. But it's loosely tied to that view of manifestation. Not like putting physical things in front of me in this exact moment, not creating things out of thin air, but intention setting, right? Like, a lot of what my life has been in terms of manifesting, and again, in a similar way to like the way that I talk about God, I want to make you aware and make myself aware that I don't mean this in any other form than just like it being an idea. The idea of manifesting. Sort of like a manifest destiny thing. Again, I have to beat this dead horse that I do not believe in the ability to manifest a cake in front of me or a physical thing in front of me, or like, I go to scratch off a scratch ticket. I say, this is $1 million ticket. It is $1 million ticket. And then I scratch it, and then it suddenly is $1 million ticket. And the only reason it was $1 million ticket is because I said so. But more actionable things that I can do to manifest a better future, a better outcome. So in the past, my manifesting has been, I'll never be anything. I'll always be poor. I suck, which traps me in a mindset that I will always be poor. I will never be anything. And I suck. And I believe these things about myself. And therefore, when these horrible things happen to me, or these thought loops and patterns of self-sabotage and self-loathing occur, I go, well, yeah, because I suck. Like, this happens because I suck. And then I consider the good things that happen to me to be the flukes. Like, a great thing happens and I go, well, yeah, it was great, but I still suck. Rather than kind of flipping the script a little bit and saying, these good things happen to me because I am great, or whatever. And I try to remove ego from it a little bit. Also, it's, again, very important to note that I'm just riffing here. I'm just improvising. It's a new thing that I'm kind of slowly kind of getting into, and I don't know much about, but I'm just kind of communicating to you where I've been at in my own headspace. And so I went down the rabbit hole of the algorithm and some Spotify podcasts and whatever, YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, that kind of thing, talking about manifestation and how to actualize some of the things that you want in your life. And many of the things, so like whatever, the wooest of woo ones were like, you've got to get on the same vibration of the future you envision yourself having. So, the things that you want exist in the universe. If you want to be, whatever, we'll throw a random example out. If you want to be a filmmaker, you got to start believing that you are a filmmaker. If you want to be an Olympic athlete, you got to start envisioning that you are an Olympic athlete. Not, I wish I was, or one day I might be. You have to change your mindset to, I am these things. But the universe has not yet put the tangible, the gold medal in front of me, the Oscar in front of me yet. Because right now, I don't even believe that I'm a filmmaker and an Olympic athlete. So how would I ever get those physical valid pieces of validation or rewards or awards or whatever if I'm not even a filmmaker? How would I get that thing if I'm not a filmmaker to begin with? That kind of thing. But then there's like this whole vibration, energy thing that they kind of talk about, that like these things exist. You just have to get on the same vibration as them. You have to place yourself in the same dimension that the things you want and the things you choose to be or identify as exist. So then I kind of tapped into a podcast where I think her name is maybe Mel Robbins or something. I don't know. Also, if these people are quacks, please let me know. I don't know. I'm just an impressionable adult man with no real excuse about not knowing if these people are cranks or whatever. The algorithm's pitching them up, so I'm spiking them down. But I listened to this podcast by this woman who was like, okay, yes, again, the woo form of manifestation exists, but that's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about is the scientific manifestation. The tricking your brain, not tricking your brain, well, I mean, but there's a certain degree of tricking your brain, but convincing yourself that the things you want in life already exist so that you can start convincing your brain to take actions to actualize those things. And then she talked a little bit about how like manifestation often gets, unfortunately, tossed into the woo-woo category, when really what we're talking about is actualizing things. Reaffirming that which already is. Putting yourself on a path to do the things that you wish to do that currently you convince yourself you are incapable of or are not in this moment. And so she went through these like, here are the first steps that you need to take. Step 1, identify that which you want. What is it you want? What do you want to be? Because until you know what you want, how are you ever going to get it? And so she was like, make a declaration. What is it that you want to be? Who do you want to identify as? And listeners of this podcast know much of my unfortunate period of darkest days are spent going, who am I? What am I? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? Am I a filmmaker? Am I a musician? Am I a podcaster? Am I a photographer? Am I a writer? Am I an actor? What am I? Am I just some dude who does deliveries for other people? Am I just a bald man? And so this forced me to do something I have not done before, and that's really truly identify what it is that I want, or what it is that I would like to one day tell people I am. So in order to start declaring that I am this thing, I must start now. And so I kind of chewed on that for a little bit, and I found a way to bundle all of those things up into one thing, because I see all of these things, the photography, the cinematography, the acting, the filmmaking, the podcasting, the music, the drumming, the singing, the writing, all of that as art, right? It's art. Maybe I'm arrogant and I have a major ego in saying that, like, what I'm doing right now, I'm speaking to the podcast. I'm speaking to my phone while going 80 miles an hour down the highway. Am I really so bold as to declare that art? Maybe I am. You know what? Maybe I am. But the thing I choose to be, the thing I now choose to identify as, the thing I am manifesting for myself and actualizing myself, the thing I declare myself to be, is a successful, full-time artist. That feels tangible, actual, legitimate, attainable. Someone says, what do you do? I'm an artist. That can mean anything, right? it is vague. It is unspecific generally. I'm going to contradict myself. It is unspecific generally, but it is generally specific. It's broad. It's not too specific that it's unattainable. Like if I say, right now I'm saying I'm an artist. But if I just suddenly one day was like, no, I'm a painter. I am a painter. I'm not painting. So why would I say that? I'm not making films in this moment. So I'm not a filmmaker. I might make films. I'm not a podcaster, although I do podcast. I'm not a musician, although I play music. I'm an artist. I do all those things. And so the thing I want to convince myself, that I certainly want to convince myself, and maybe this is not the point here, and maybe it's specifically not the exact opposite of the point, but I do also want to be able, I don't want to convince others, but I want to be able to have an answer for others who say, what do you do? Because what am I going to say? Well, I edit videos for a games company, and I also, I'm in a band, and I do wedding cinematography, and I do portrait photography, and I podcast, and I also do some deliveries on the side for people. No, I'm an artist. Oh, what kind of art do you make? Now I can talk about some of the specifics. Well, I do this, and this, and this, and this, and this. But painting with too broad of a brush has confused my own brain, because I do these things. I do music. I do podcasts. I do write. I do act. I do X, Y, and Z. But am I those things? Am I the sum? Am I the parts of me that I choose to express? Or am I the sum of all that I do? And I think that's more of an appropriate way to look at it. And for those who identify with the concept of manifestation and really lean into that as a form of actualization or self-identity and whatever, if I'm getting this wrong, maybe let me know. I'm willing to hear you out. Maybe I'm doing the exact opposite of what I should do. I don't know. But for what it's worth, this seems to help. It helps me align my goals a little bit. Because yes, I want to do all of these things. I want to do all of the things. But it's really hard to say that that's what I am, because I'm not just these things. I am the sum of all of these parts, which is an artist. I do art. But it's that successful thing that I'm really trying to align myself with. And again, maybe this is not the way to do it, and I don't even know that this is what I'm trying to do here. I don't know that I'm trying to convince you that I am a successful full-time artist. But I want to be successful in the act of doing art full-time. And so that first step, identifying what it is that you want and declaring that it is so, that would be my first step, is declaring that I am a successful full-time artist, so that I can be that. So that when I start identifying as this, I can nurture that which already is, because now I don't want to lose this. It's not something that's like, man, I hope one day to be this, because the goalposts continue to move. It's like, I want to do music is where it starts. Then I want to be in a band. Then I want to play a show. Then I want to write music. Then I want to release an album. Then I want to tour. Then I want to play theaters. Then I want to play arenas. Then I want to be the biggest band in the world. the goalposts move, and the more that you say that the thing you want is further away from where you are, it seems like you've made no progress because you've already made a goddamn touchdown. How many do you need? And do you need any of them? Or do you just want to believe in yourself and your abilities and declare that what you've done is already good? And so again, if I say I am a successful full-time artist, and already again, I'm not there yet. I have not tricked my brain into declaring or believing, hell yeah I am. But as a thought exercise, hell yeah I am. I do all of the things that I've already listed that I do. Yes, I do other stuff on the side, which tends to sometimes be more full-time than the full-time art of it all. Yes, I do a lot of deliveries for people. But the amount of other stuff that I do is full-time. It takes up my brain full-time. So why not start identifying with that? So yeah, first step, declaring that which you choose to be. And I am a successful full-time artist. Then a bit of that was, so I'll be honest. Okay, I've talked many times about how I dislike the growing AI takeover of the internet. I don't think it's exactly like what I thought that it would be, or what I envisioned that it would be. Although some of my predictions have come true about the fact that like there are certainly bad examples of AI. There are bad AI chatbots. There are bad AI videos. There are bad whatever. But a prediction was that there will be certain pieces of quote-unquote art made by AI that are indistinguishable from reality. There is plenty of music that has been created by AI, which again, AI has sort of lost its meaning as well too, that like whatever. I understand that AI is not just artificial intelligence. It's not like a robot suddenly decided to do things. These things are being prompted to do these things. They still need to be prompted to do the things that we're asking them to do. But once prompted, they create things or generate things that are indistinguishable from reality. They're pieces of music that are like, damn, not only does this sound real, like a real band did this with a real singer at the helm, but it's good. We can have different definitions of what good is. Does it have a soul? Some of them seem like they do. But then visuals. There are plenty of visuals now at this point that are like, holy shit, I'm getting tricked sometimes. Like, this looks real. Certainly know the boomers and Gen Xers in our timelines think that it's real, which is, scarier than my generation thinking that it's real, I think, at this point, because the boomers and Gen Xers are the ones who are still dominating the power centers. So it's freaky. But anyway, that was a bit of an unexpected tangent. What I meant to say was, I used ChatGPT just to be like, hey, ChatGPT, I'm doing a podcast this week. Look at the descriptions of all the podcast episodes that I've ever done and tell me what I should talk about this week. Because I was like, I don't know what I want to talk about. But I try to have it just give me like themes. I don't want it to give me scripts or like, tell the people, like, it wasn't like, talk about manifestation this week or tell the people that you are a successful full-time artist. But one of the prompts that it gave me was saying goodbye to parts of yourself. And it referenced that, I've had episodes in the past where I am trying to not just identify with who I am, but let go of some of the stuff that is no longer serving me. Let go of some of the things that I wish to no longer not just identify as or identify with, but like, look, this can be let go of grief, this can be let go of guilt, this can be let go of old habits or old friendships or whatever. But ChatGPT was basically like, this would be a good thing to talk about. And to be honest with you, I don't know where I want to go with that, or if I want to go with that at all. But I wrote it down, so maybe I should try to riff on it. If I choose to identify as a full-time artist, that requires focusing, being specific, attempting to remain undistracted, centering myself, concentrating on what it is that I want so that I can identify with the things I wish to be or feel. And that requires letting go of some stuff. That can be physical and spiritual, artificial, whatever. You understand, I hope. Physical and non-physical. So some of that is like actual things that I'm doing. So as an example, right now I'm doing a weekly Let's Play of the game Don't Starve. That has been fun for me. But right now I'm at a point where it feels kind of like a bit of a thing I have to do every week, and I'm not having as much fun with it as I was. Although, on the YouTube channel, it's one of the most successful things that I've done. I got a new audience from it. I got people engaging in the comments section. I had new subscribers. I had a community building around me playing this game. And that's awesome. The reason I did it was to justify playing video games in the first place. I have a really unfortunate history of video games, or with video games, where there are so many things that I wanted to do that I had plenty of time to do, and there was also like many responsibilities that I had that I chose to ignore and not do by wasting my time with video games. Now, I am not saying video games are a waste of time. If they bring you joy, genuinely, if they bring you community, many of my friends started being my friends because I met them online. I met them in Grand Theft Auto, you know? Video games can bring you community. Video games can bring you joy. Video games can give you peace and relaxation and whatever. But for me, they became a distraction in my life. They became a means to ignoring what I needed to do. My mental health took a backseat because I would rather play video games. My relationships took a backseat because I would rather play video games. My desires and goals and ambitions took a backseat because it's hard work. It's hard work being a successful full-time artist. And it's really easy to hop into Grand Theft Auto and play for 9 hours straight. Or Rocket League, or Minecraft, or Don't Starve, or whatever. Whatever your game is of choice. Whatever your games are. For me, they were not serving me. And so it was gradual at first, but became once it became clear to me that this was a problem, I kind of just stopped playing and did not allow myself to play because I would get sucked into video games for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then I'd come out of it. It's just like scrolling, I don't have TikTok, but I have Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and all that kind of shit. But it's just like scrolling for hours and hours on end, and then all of a sudden you come out and you're like, Jesus, where was I? I've been gone for 4 hours, just sucked in. And then there's this shame and regret and guilt that you feel. And I was just tired of feeling that. And I was able to identify that was sort of not the cause of it. There was a reason I was playing video games. Again, it was escapism. But I would rather have played video games than deal with the actual things going on in my life that needed to be addressed. And so I stopped. And then recently, I got the itch. It wasn't like man, I'd really love to do this drug again. It was like, man, I actually had some good times back in the day. I wonder what that would be like. And so it started with me just hopping casually into like Minecraft. Building a little hut for myself, doing a little bit of exploring, and then setting it down and giving myself a time limit. But there's still that guilt associated with it. And so I had to find a justification for it. And if I were to be playing video games, the way to justify that for me would be to use it as a tool to further that which I would like to be. Obviously, this is all pre-manifestation stuff. This is centering or whatever, actualizing or whatever. But I was like, okay, if I'm going to play video games, I'm going to put them on my YouTube channel so that I get more eyes on the channel for the podcast. And then when people watch the podcast, I can plug the things that I care about the most. So my music, or I haven't done one in a very long time, but short films or whatever. There's a direct line between people watching me play video games and then them actually tuning into the things that I care about the most. And so I was like, what should I do? I want to play the game Don't Starve. I haven't played that in a long time. So I'm going to start putting that on my YouTube channel. And so once a week for the last couple months, I've been doing an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of the game Don't Starve. But the community came, and it was exactly that. It was exactly what I wanted. I wanted to build not a new community, but expand the community that already exists. And so I kept going, and the numbers were going up, and people were commenting, and I was having a great time with it. And then as the series goes on, after it reaches its like ultimate peak, it slows down, comments stop coming as much, views dip a little bit, and then they kind of plateau, and it just is what it is now. And then I realize at this point, I'm actually not having fun with this anymore. And I realized that the fun of the video games was diminished because the thing I wanted was to be a successful full-time artist. And playing the video games did not make me feel like an artist. So recently I decided, I think what I'm going to do is try to, quote unquote, beat the game and then stop for a while. Doesn't mean that it's permanent, but right now it does not feel like it is serving me. It feels like an obligation, not something that I want to do. And so I'm going to record. I just shot an episode yesterday that I thought would maybe possibly end up being the last episode, but I got a lot of work to do in the series still. So I'm going to shoot some episodes until it is done, and I'm not just going to like stick around and continue to play and expand my base and whatever, and I'm going to try to beat it the conventional way. There are many ways you can. It's sort of like Minecraft in that you can play forever and ever, or you can go to the end and beat it. And I found that once I discovered that what I was doing was no longer serving me, and now I had a goal in mind, I had a lot of fun shooting the episode yesterday. Because now I actually see the end of something in front of me, and it's something I'm working toward. It's not just some like indefinite thing that like maybe one day I'll be this or I'll do this or whatever. It's like, no, now I have a goal and I need goals. And an attainable goal was, let's just beat the game. And there are many things like that. That was obviously just an example. So other things, you know, whatever, saying goodbye to parts of myself, this nature to self-sabotage and self-loathe. I identify, unfortunately, to be clear, I'm trying not to identify now, but so much of my identity was wrapped up in I am a miserable, lonely, unsuccessful, broke person. And that shit's got to stop. The things that I've just described in general, so like I've got to stop being lonely, I've got to stop being whatever, unsuccessful, I've got to stop being broke, I've got to stop being whatever, miserable, and but also like I've got to stop identifying with that because I am actualizing that which I believe I am. If I think these things about myself, I'm going to think these things about myself no matter the circumstances. I am blinded by, I'll just keep using this word, I guess, but I am blinded by self-loathing such that when I do these amazing, incredible things in my career or my relationships or my friendships or my whatever, I don't see them for what they are because they don't fit this box that I've put myself in. I can't believe that they are parts of the best of me because in my mind that doesn't even exist. That is the fluke. So I've got to say goodbye to these parts of myself, even though for much of my life I believed they were me. It feels like I'm saying goodbye to me. And while I find myself on this journey to discover who I am, it makes sense that I would grieve that because I already don't know who I am, and now I'm saying goodbye to so much of what I believe or who I believe I already am. So it's time to say goodbye to those parts so that I can truly discover, again, who I am. And if right now I want to declare that I am a successful full-time artist, certainly there is more to that than just my art, right? There's more to me than just the full-time art. But I think it's that successful word that I'm more focused on identifying with. Because successful can be in anything, right? I can be successful in my relationships. I can be successful in my art. I can be successful in the way I view myself. I can be successful in my abilities or my whatever. I can be successful in all facets of life. I just have to believe that I am, because I may already be. But because I have, again, blinded myself by this belief that I am not successful or that I am not worthy or capable, then it will make sense to me when I hurt or when I quote unquote fail. And so I have to identify again with the best parts of me that I wish to be. I am a successful full-time artist. Maybe that means I am successful at being a full-time artist, but it also just means I am successful and a full-time artist. I have these little like sub notes where I wanted to talk about God a little bit, but I'm approaching my destination, and I don't know that I have the capacity to talk about that right now, or the interest really in talking about God. But a lot of this was like, I was going to kind of compare this to prayer a little bit. And I don't think I have the words for it yet. There's a future conversation where I talk about prayer and God. But one of the, I guess, broad brush, one of the things that I have talked about on this podcast before is viewing God as sort of an idea or the existence of everything. Everything is God. And I don't necessarily know this. I don't necessarily know that I believe this or whatever. I'm just that is kind of what I've said in the past. And so I'm just looking for ways to maybe explore that a little bit more. But I don't have the capacity to do that right now. I am mere moments away from being at the dentist. So why don't I let you go here. I'm going to take a quick break. Obviously, for you, it's going to be whatever. A Cat and Crew ad's worth of time. But I'm going to go into the dentist. I'm going to come out. I'm going to let you know how the dentist thing went. And then we'll do some plugs, maybe. And maybe we'll have reflected in that dentist chair enough to talk about God or myself just a little bit more. But for now, again, the plan is I'm walking into the dentist right now because again, you're looking at my mouth. There's a giant gap in my mouth. There's no longer a tooth there. It had to be pulled because of an injury that I sustained when I was much younger. And just again to recap, I doubt there's any first-time listeners here, but maybe I'll manifest that there are. If this is the first time you've ever listened to this podcast, when I was younger, I fell and busted my tooth, and then I needed a root canal done, and there was a crown put over the root canal. That's how root canals are done. And then for the last 20 years, that's what it's been in my mouth. Had a tooth infection recently, had to have that pulled because the gums could not sustain another root canal, and so now my life is spent with the gap in between my teeth, and I have a flipper put in, which is a temporary tooth that's basically a retainer that goes in my mouth, and then there's a tooth on the front of it. So in theory, you wouldn't even be able to tell when I'm smiling. But it doesn't fit right. And so the hope is when I go in today, they say, oh yeah, it's sized a little bit differently. We'll get you another one, or we'll be able to shave this one down a little bit so it actually fits properly. My fear, a fear of mine, is that they're gonna go, well, yeah, dude, I mean, it's not a permanent solution. This is just what flippers are. Like, they're not intended to fit perfectly. They're meant to be a temporary solution. But my hope is that they go, oh, yeah, shoot, whoops, our bad. Yeah, let's fix that up for you. We'll get you a new one ordered, and then you'll be good to go, and then it'll look snug, and it'll feel great, and you'll have a great smile, and nobody will ever know, and you'll be comfortable and whatever. That's my hope. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go do that, and then I will see you on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a punk house, it's a punk home. You can find this banner and others like it, as well as this silly goose on the loose hat, these etched mirrors, these custom charm bracelets, and so much more by heading to Cat and Crew, that's KATANDCREW.com, and entering the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Katie and Andrew, one of the first supporters of this show, have made a 10% discount available for A.D.H.Deep-Dive listeners. See store for details, of course, but they've got so many cool punk home products, decor. You don't have to be a punk. That's okay. That's all right. Tattoos for your home, koozies, wall banners, a hot sauce. Oh my God, keep your eyes peeled for that. So again, if you want this is not a punk house, this is a punk home banner. If you want this silly goose on a loose hat, if you want etched mirrors, if you want custom charm bracelets, so much more, go to Cat and Crew, KATANDCREW.com, enter the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you very much to Katie and Andrew for sponsoring the show. Let's get back to the podcast.
All right, so we're just going to do the rest of this podcast handheld with no equipped microphone, so I apologize for the sound. So I just got out of the dentist. I am going to have to make a new impression. I'm going to have to get a new one of these things because they even said themselves doesn't quite fit very well, but I do get to take this kind of home and keep it as like a kind of a backup. For now, that's all the information I have. I'm glad that they didn't take it and go, oh, well, I mean, sorry, that's just what happens. That's what impressions are, which we already discussed. But for now, as I find some way to wrap up this episode,
we've got a bunch of stuff with Midwest Skies coming up. Talk about being a successful full-time artist. This weekend, which I guess it will have already passed, August 30th, we're playing Crew Fest, Cat and Crew's inaugural alternative punk music festival with a bunch of vendors and stuff. I hope to have seen as many of you there as possible. And then September 1st, like I said, I'm going to see Polyphia, Avenged Sevenfold, and System of a Down with my buddy John, which there will be a follow-up episode to that. Then it's not completely locked in right now, but I believe that we're doing a weekender in September. So I believe that the plan is September 19th, we're playing Detroit. September 20th, we're playing Bowling Green, Ohio. Then September 21st, we're doing Cadillac, my hometown. And then we got a bunch of Midwest Skies stuff coming up. We're doing a lot of writing. But I think it's about time we're doing the van thing. So we're going to finally start justifying some of these out-of-town shows so we can tour. I've talked about this forever and ever. I'm a successful full-time artist, which means I tour with my band. And damn it, whether that's happening now or not, it certainly will be in the future. I've put it out into the universe, just like that proverbial piece of cake. So just be on the lookout for future Midwest Skies stuff. I've been filling in a lot on drums for other groups. I'm also seeing Blink-182 on September 17th with Emma. Lots of music stuff this month. Many other things that I'm forgetting. I believe I'm going to be shooting another Concave Notions music video next month, when I believe the current one that I've finished already editing is going to be coming out in October as well. There's a bunch of dogs around me. This is probably as good a time as any to end this episode, but listen to all those dogs lose their fucking minds. Holy shit. Anyways, thank you very much for tuning into the A.D.H. Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. I love you. I appreciate you. You know, do I say big things coming? I don't know. Keep your eyes peeled. Stay tuned. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying it to you, but I am saying it to me. Big things are coming. Whether I know what those things are or not is irrelevant. They are coming because I have manifested that it will be so. They will be. All right. Thank you again for joining the A.D.H. Deep Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. I love you, and I will see you next time.
One step too far, you brought him into the